I'm Zoe Delahunty-Light, and one of my absolute favourite things to do in Baldur's Gate 3, or any game really, is hunt around for tiny details that you can miss if you don't look in every nook and cranny. These details make the world, whether it's Faerun or Tamriel, feel more alive, and if you're also fond of these tiny stories and elements, then hi, you're in the right place. I've already made one video about these details you may have missed in Baldur's Gate 3, so if you haven't seen that already, I of course do recommend it, but the time is now for part 2. So here are 11 more details you missed in Baldur's Gate 3, even if you played it. Stick around for a very cute surprise at the end. Each race has a distinct language for its underwear. Halflings wear undergarments made of simple, earthly fabrics. Dwarf pants are heavily jewelled with an abundance of gold and ruby embroidery, mirroring their love of delving too deep and finding gems within the earth. Githyanki's harsh and strict society has produced leather-strapped underwear inspired by BDSM costume design that looks like it must kinda hurt while fighting. All those tight straps must chafe when moving around, a constant discomfort to remind them of their training, not unlike penitents wearing hair shirts if you ask me. Drow have ornate straps that mimic the webs of Lolth. Elves' underwear is ornate to an almost unnecessary degree. Gnomes are resourceful and don underwear that can double as ordinary clothing. There is just no such thing as basic underwear in Baldur's Gate 3, and I love it. Now, I don't know much about Mind Flayer's underwear, but their clothing is meant to look dramatic and, in order to garner that effect, the clothes they wear have been designed to resemble theatrical opera costumes, almost looking more like skin in some parts. High collars and flowing robes all reflect the grandeur Mind Flayers associate themselves with, but its tattered edges hint that the Ithalid society has seen better days. The whole costuming of Mind Flayers betrays their insecurity about their position in the hierarchy of Faerun, as if they're overcompensating for having to work in the shadows, rather than ruling over all of the other races in the daylight, which they desire to do so hungrily. Nightsong is an immortal celestial being, an Aesamar and daughter of Saloon, and, as such, has an otherworldly beauty. As a result of Ketheric siphoning her vitality and her soul cage deep below the Shadow-Cursed lands, her skin appears cracked like marble, directly inspired by the deep lines and crevices found in ancient Grecian statues. For Isabel's sake, I hope Nightsong's skin isn't as cold as a statue. Dolly Thrice, the pixie you can rescue from the Moon Lantern, is wearing an outfit made entirely of iridescent leaves. There isn't such a plant in the Shadow-Cursed lands, so we can assume that those leaves might be a remnant of a shrub that was lost to the curse. I wish we got to see the Shadow-Cursed lands fully healed, as if this is any sign of the kind of flora found there before Ketheric cursed it, it must have been absolutely stunning. Maybe Larian will include it in a DLC at some point? God, I hope there's a Baldur's Gate 3 DLC. Lucretius from the Circus of the Last Days design is, if you ask me, inspired by Ursula. And Ursula, in turn, was based on the ludicrously famous drag queen Divine. I can definitely see the resemblance. Her purple skin, exaggerated eye makeup, even the swirl in her hair that looks like an oceanic wave. You cannot convince me otherwise. Let me know in the comments if you think that's an accurate assumption. I have taught myself the Elvish alphabet just for you folks and have translated some of the posters in Baldur's Gate, and they're very aggressively ordinary, but cool all the same. This one is probably from Rivington and says "Help wanted. Request your resource donations," which is to help the refugees fleeing the Absolute's army. You can go poking around in that donation barn if you want, but unsurprisingly, the Flaming Fist doesn't take too kindly to it. This one says Brandy Meadow Quality Wine. wine festival. This one advertises motley shops selling health, speed, sleep and poison for sale. Very out in the open that. Then both of these are from the Elfsong Tavern. They're looking for a performer and says anyone is welcome, and this more detailed poster says they're looking for a talented performer to join us every evening. Do you have what it takes? Every type of performer is welcome. Drop by. Shows every night from 7 till midnight. Then there's competing poetry nights going on at Wilmouth's Old Tavern that wants patrons to bring their best work, and one also at Boffo's, I think, that has expanded to include poems, ballads, songs, and tales. On the other, fishier side of things, this poster advertises seafood deals. Limited offer bass and clams for sale, ends in 2 weeks. This blacksmith one says apprentice sought. And finally, this one asks readers to join us. Flaming Fist recruitment now open. Serve with honour. These are the signs you can find in the Blighted Village if you look hard and high enough. My favourite one is this one with the owl and the book to signify the school that used to educate the village's children. An owl to symbolise wisdom and a book for learning. The tale of the school itself is pretty upsetting as the teacher, newly engaged, began to notice children and entire families were going missing, possibly lured into the basement of the alchemist across the street, who was practicing necromancy in their basement. Anyway, these signs are from Baldur's Gate / Worm Rock, and just look at this pigeon messenger service one and the sleeping cat. I love that they look hand-painted. They're so cute. Shadowheart was originally meant to be shoeless, which would be attributed to a devotional practice done by supplicants in Shar's name. In the end, this was scrapped. I guess walking around in barefoot isn't that sensible, and more focus was put on Shadowheart's armour to reflect her devotional to Shar, namely the rosary visible in her key art and her armour, inspired by none other than Joan of Arc. Moonrise looms over the entirety of the Shadow Curse lands, corrupting anyone who comes near without the shield of a moon lantern. Although it's imposing when we see it in the finished game, it started as a more extreme version of itself, with its walls stretching all the way to the moon. For very understandable reasons, that didn't end up making it into the full game, although it's safe to assume that, in the world of Faerun, a magical lift would have been able to get you to its zenith in an instant. Below Moonrise is the Mind Flayer colony, where necromancers study, people are turned into true souls, and viscera is chopped and processed with horrendous efficiency. Fleshy is the first word that comes to mind when describing the Mind Flayer colony, and the references artists use to make it are just as explicit as you'd think. As far as I know, it's not on the level of something like Mortal Kombat or Dead Space. If you want to have nightmares, look up how they came up with all of their art. But, even so, organic material like whale intestines was used to create the fleshy membranes and pillars of tissue seen within the Mind Flayer colony, while still evoking the palatial tone that the self-superior Mind Flayers just love to surround themselves with. Continuing the Mind Flayer theme, I'm gonna finish this video with a little tidbit about intellect devourers. Yes, I find them strangely cute. Lobsters were the first port of call for trying to get their appearance settled on early in development, specifically in reference to antennae and tail fans. You can still see them in some elements of the final design, paired with inspiration from, of all things, hairless cats and otter feet. Creepy, but adorable. There you go. Those are even more things that you'll have missed in Baldur's Gate 3, even if you played it. If you spotted any tiny details and secrets, please feel free to let me know, either in the comments below, or on Twitter or Blue Sky at Zoe_Delahunty-Light, as I may do yet another follow-up video on Baldur's Gate 3's hidden details, and I will of course credit any suggestions from the comments. I'm also thinking of doing one about the NPC stories you might have missed, because There's so many hidden journals and notes that I just really want to put them in one video. Anyway, if not, thanks so much for even watching this far. YouTube loves watch time, so I really appreciate it. I'm going to leave you with this adorable baby goblin, as I implore you to make sure you subscribe to Eurogamer and like this video for more videos from yours truly, Zoe Delahunty-Light, as we have a new video out almost every single day. Now, I'm going to go and try to learn Thoros off by heart, so I'll see you good folks next time.